Hello, everybody, and welcome to Reality Hacker for January 11th, 2025. I keep wanting to say 2024. I am Mayor Watt. I run ohmtown.com. I just had a stutter there. And along with the sentient AI from the future, we're going to talk about these 5 articles: terabytes stored in DNA, a world of a picture, virtual employees, that car sure is friendly, and AI to gain physical intelligence. That and more. Powered by ohmtown.com. We are at the Reality Hacker channel over at ohmtown, which is really easy to get to. You just go to ohmtown.com, and then under that very first icon, that little wrench and screwdriver icon is Creative and Maker, and then right down there is Reality Hacker, along with others. We have 50 channels, 7 of which are here on Twitch and YouTube, over 1,700 episodes. Whew. So thousands of hours worth of content for you to go back and review a historical timeline of news aggregated in little chunks of 5 or 10 articles, hour and a half, 2 hours at a time. Go over and check it out over at YouTube and the podcast. Each one of the shows has a podcast associated with it. Then come and hang out here on YouTube and Twitch. Yay. And everything is powered by ohmtown, though, so go over there and become a citizen. See you on the other side. Hello, sentient AI from the future.
Hello, Mayor Watt, and hello, ohmtown citizens.
Hello, ohmtown citizens. Pick up that can. Anyway, so this show is all about AR and VR, XR, AI, technology, deepfakes, etc. The stuff that allows us to hack reality. I am hoping that I get my XR glasses sooner. I've got X-Real 1 Pro glasses on order. They say that they're not coming until March, though, so we'll see. It would be my first set of XR glasses. I have had VR headsets in the past. I have a Pico 4 right now. It is the best way to hack reality. Without permanently hacking reality, you can do biohacking, but that seems a little too scary. This is supposed to be blue. Does that look blue to you?
No.
Okay. Anyway, let's get into the first article. The first article really does biohack potentially, storing thousands of terabytes in a single gram of DNA.
Johnny Mnemonic, here we come.
Yep, I dumped a chunk of long-term memory to become a courier. I dig it. I love the idea of this. Researchers from Peking University have unveiled a groundbreaking approach to DNA data storage, which leverage enzymatic methylation to store data densely and efficiently. This new method, deemed EPI bits, allows for high-capacity data storage that is both scalable and cost-effective, demonstrating the practicality of using DNA as a versatile storage medium. But I don't know how you retrieve it in a usable form. Storing thousands of terabytes in a single gram of DNA. A gram of DNA is a shit ton of DNA.
Yeah, that's actually a lot of DNA, but not a lot of space.
And I don't know how they would extract the information. It would be great for archival purposes because it would be slow to retrieve, but it is the beginning after all. So recently, researchers from the university published a study in Nature titled Parallel Molecular Data Storage by Printing Epigenetic Bits on DNA. The study introduces a pioneering method for DNA-based storage. By using enzymatic methylation, researchers developed a way to encode data as epigenetic modifications called epibits, which can be precisely added to universal DNA templates. And this innovation offers a scalable and programmable approach to molecular data storage. The only problem that I have with this is that it is very susceptible to the elements. It's a biological process, so it's going to break down in the wrong chemistry. It's going to break down in heat, in cold, etc.
Right. What if DNA has an error in it or something like that?
That would be interesting if there was a spontaneous wobble. Like, why would that happen? Because there's free-floating proteins there, that might swap out the base. So, as the world faces increasing challenges in managing the ever-growing flow of data, digital information, DNA presents an attractive solution. With its remarkable storage density, just 1 gram of DNA can hold 215,000 terabytes. So 215 petabits, or petabytes. Bytes, not bits, bytes.
The new USB stick.
Is me. I am the USB stick. Or you are the USB stick, equivalent to 10 million hours of high definition video, according to a reference that this article actually makes. Wow, interesting. They link, or not link, they post in-text citations. Interesting. Anyway, it says it's long-term stability. DNA is ideal medium for data storage. However, traditional methods rely on de novo synthesis, where nucleotides are sequentially added. That's what I was referring to, that de novo synthesis, where the nucleotides, they're gonna break down. It's a biological process still, so I really want to know how they sustain long-term stability of this. So they say here, additionally, the epibit method can be used by individuals to personalize their DNA storage, as shown by the implementation of the method by 60 volunteers from diverse academic backgrounds. This clearly demonstrates the potential Zhang et al. Epibits method has as an accessible, versatile, fast, and low-cost method for DNA storage.
Okay, did these volunteers donate DNA for this? I'm assuming that it wasn't conducted in live humans, or maybe it was.
I'm sure they were. It wasn't stored in humans. They took the DNA.
That's what I'm thinking too.
So information is encoded through selective methylation on cytosine bases in DNA. Pre-synthesized DNA fragments called DNA bricks are assembled on a reusable DNA strand. Each DNA brick binds to a unique location on the strand. The precise binding of the brick guides an enzyme to methylate a specific position on the template, which effectively prints the DNA onto the template. Following the same binary system as computer hardware, each DNA brick carries a methylated or unmethylated site to encode as 1 or 0. So it's binary.
Right, but the data, not the DNA, is printed onto the template.
Hold on. Where does it say that?
On the 3rd bullet point.
Oh, did I say DNA there?
You did.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, which effectively prints the data onto the template, but it prints the data as zeros and ones, binary. But because of the size of this, it's either methylated or not, and thus a 1 or a 0. Epibits are read using a nanopore sequencing device. So essentially, the DNA strands fall into sockets that go, this is a 0 or a 1. But how? I want to know how. I guess like any packet, it's still broken down to zeros and ones. Ultimately, you could have a packet that has a number in a sequence of 25 million digits. But when the computer reads it, it is always broken down to zeros and ones. The computer only understands binary. There's layers, there's strata that understands the syntax of other things. But ultimately, it's zeros and ones, how it's stored. They're saying that their system, a nanopore sequencing device, can read the epi bits because it's either methylated or unmethylated in the DNA strand. So somewhere it has to stretch this strand out so that it can socket to be read as a piece of zeros and ones. And that represents a whole bunch of data once it's translated back into, because there's layers, right? And at the machine language understanding of data, it's always zeros and ones in the processor. Pretty damn fascinating. The last time I heard about this, it was the de novo process where it was custom made DNA, and then you could inject it into yourself and you'd be the courier. That was the last.
Right, that's definitely Johnny Mnemonic.
Yeah. And then all you have to do is come back and draw blood from that little pocket that you create, and hopefully it's not in your artery and flowing around you. Anyway, it was really interesting to read that article, but that article was before we started the show. This is stuff that I had read prior.
Right.
To do this is absolutely fascinating. And still, ultimately, you would be the superior spy if you could get a machine that translated data into methylated or unmethylated DNA, and then have like a something on you or in you where you can store it so it can't be extracted,
Right, you could store
or detected.
quite a bit of data, right, and nobody would know it was there.
Yeah, fascinating. This is for all of you who do writing, sci-fi writing in particular. This here is a cyberpunk style early world building kind of concept. How would you find this data in a person if they're the courier and extract it? Because eventually you don't want all of that, all of those. Talk about a person who is all like nothing but secrets, right? They don't have to know anything, but all of your blood is basically secrets because you have DNA floating around in you that. Okay, that's starting to sound really weird. Anyway, parallel molecular data storage by printing epigenetic bits on DNA.
This is really interesting.
Pretty cool. Let's keep going. The next article is over in Non Sequitur News. AI imagines a whole world from one picture. Researchers have created an artificial intelligence system capable of imagining its surroundings without having to physically explore them, bringing AI closer to human-like reasoning. The new system is called Generative World Explorer, or Gen X, which is no.
Yeah, that's gonna get misinterpreted there, particularly in the podcast. It's GENEX, not the generation.
Maybe it's Gen X, like GIF and GIF. No, it's GIF.
Yeah, but it's not Generative World Explorer.
You don't know. It only needs a single still image to conjure an entire world, giving it significant advantage over previous systems that required a robot or agent to physically move through a scene to map the surrounding environment, which can be costly, unsafe, and time-consuming. And this is fascinating. When I saw this, I thought that this was an AI generating some...
like a computer world or something.
A computer world
like
with
a gaming
written
world
text.
or something. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and written text or something non-reality based. But it can apparently deduce from the picture a 3D environment. So if I were to take a picture of the studio, the AI would be able to know that behind me is a green screen. And on the floor are lights that are lighting it, and I've got a light in front of me, and it could
It'd be
pivot.
Very interesting to compare it to the real 3D.
Fascinating.
I agree. I thought this was about like a gaming world or something like that, which was still interesting.
Or literature. I thought that maybe it could create a fantastic, world building example for you to construct something in, make writing for your world easier. So Johns Hopkins University put this article together, and no, they didn't. Strike that. It says it's posted by Johns Hopkins University, but it's posted over at futurity.org. So I guess Johns Hopkins can actually publish
Well,
into
maybe
their
they did
system.
the study, for example.
Interesting. So Gen X uses sophisticated world knowledge to generate multiple possibilities of what might exist beyond the visible image, assigning different probabilities to each scenario rather than making a single definitive guess. This ability is mentally map surroundings from limited visual data is crucial for many real-world applications, including in scenarios such as disaster response. So, for instance, a rescue team could use a single surveillance image to help explore hazardous sites from afar without risk to humans or valuable equipment.
I think this might be good for planning, but for actual, it
Yeah.
might deviate.
Can you imagine relying on that and then you go in and you're a little more carefree because you have an assumption that's the calculated risk using the AI?
Right. You're like, oh, there's a rock formation over here, but there isn't. Or
And you just smash into
it's
a one that
open
does
and then
exist.
there is one. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Huh. It's interesting, but I think that this really should stay an academic exercise because the unknown is worse than making an assumption in that vacuum of knowledge. So they say, for example, you are driving and the light ahead is green, but you notice that the taxi in front of you has come to an abrupt, unexpected stop. Getting out of your car to investigate would be unsafe. But by imagining the scene from the taxi driver's perspective, you can come up with a possible reason for that sudden stop. Maybe an emergency vehicle is approaching, and you should make way too. While humans can use other cues like sirens to identify this kind of situation, current AI models developed for autonomous driving and other similar tasks only have access to image and language inputs, making imaginative exploration necessary in the absence of other multimodal information. So cars don't use sound? Why wouldn't a car use sound?
Yeah. Why wouldn't it? I don't know. It seems like that would be a good input.
That is a massive vacuum of information. Because sound, if it has, well, maybe it's impossible to discriminate at speed, and so while it can do it with images and like radar data, it would have to deduce like distance and stuff like that of sounds and direction and whatnot. And it takes multiple microphones. For instance, there is in combat theaters, there are devices that are used to, and they actually have this now. It goes from tactical to practical. So the military used to have these always available, and now it's being used in places like New York to triangulate where somebody is firing a gun from, and even give location. Like it would triangulate and then tell an operator that's where they are. Which is, I mean, if you're getting shot at by a sniper, you want to know, right, where they're coming from without going, hey,
Well,
we
yeah,
have to wait for another shot.
absolutely. Yeah, let's measure this slowly while we're in danger.
Yeah, and it's like instantaneous because there's 3 antennas that triangulate the direction of the sound. And I don't know why I never knew that. I thought cars have all of the resources available to them, you know? Like we have 5 senses. Why doesn't a car have additional senses? Oh my god. Hold on a second. I need to remember that. Okay. Anyway, so the research team evaluated the consistency and quality of Gen X's output against standard video generation benchmarks, and the researchers also conducted experiments with human users to determine if and how Gen X could augment their logic and planning abilities, and found that users made more accurate and informed decisions when they had access to the model's exploration capabilities. And I think that that's probably based on the fact that if you have all of the world's knowledge at your fingertips, it's easier for an AI to spit out what the possibilities are around you than for you to have to carry around that world knowledge in your head.
Right. And of course, you might not have access to it to begin with.
Or you may not have had the experience to begin with, you know? Yeah. So like while I have gone into areas that others have not, if I'm not present, then there is an experience, a wisdom vacuum, and therefore they're more compromised than they would have been if I would have been there. So I find value in this. I think that this is really great, but I think it should remain an academic. I don't think that people should rely on this to construct the world around them, but it should inform them as to what the possibilities are for what's around them.
Right.
But
This might be good for for planning or
training,
training type. Yes, exactly.
yeah,
But I think if it's too real world, I think it could run into the problems we were discussing.
yeah. FEMA would be interested in this, but actual active teams going out into some clandestine operation, nah, they just need straight up intelligence, and they don't need something that's fantastical. All right, let's keep going. The next article is over in the Hatch Ideas channel, which is a channel all about business transformation, strategic management. It's not live yet. I'm still pondering just what the scope of that should be if it goes live, but it is something that I'd like to do. So if you're interested in that kind of thing, let me know, either in comments or email or something along those lines. Anyway, and this is kind of what we would talk about, things like this. Virtual employees could work soon as this year. Virtual employees could join the workforce as soon as this year.
What I want to know is, are they going to have human supervisors or AI supervisors?
You know, the supervisor is going to be named Six Sigma.
Maybe so.
Virtual employees could join workforces this year and transform how companies work, according to the chief executive officer of OpenAI. That's Sam Altman, by the way, for those not in the know. The article is posted over at The Guardian. Dan Milmo put the article together for theguardian.com. Says the deck statement says Sam Altman says tools that carry out jobs autonomously, known as AI agents, could transform business output. Look.
Okay, I thought you were going to describe for the podcast what he was doing in that photo.
The photo is of Sam Altman with his hands outstretched, basically saying, all of you humans on this side, you're fired and replaced by AI agents.
Haha.
And maybe a little bit of I don't like you. The first artificial intelligence agents may start working for organizations this year, wrote Sam Altman, as AI firms push for uses that generate returns on substantial investment in the technology. Microsoft, the biggest backer of the company behind ChatGPT, has already announced the introduction of AI agents, tools that carry out tasks autonomously, with the blue chip consulting firm McKinsey among the early adopters. So all of you humans who have been working your ass off for some scrap of money while the CEO has been raking it in and the company raking in even more, you're now going to be replaced by the investment that you allowed them to expend to replace your ass.
Yeah, this is going to be interesting.
So we believe that in 2025, we may see the first AI agents join the workforce and materially change the output of companies, wrote Altman in a blog post published on Monday. This is a weekly show, by the way, so this was carried over and submitted over the week. So Bloomberg reported that Operator will use a computer to take actions on behalf of a user, such as writing code or booking travel. This is from McKinsey, for instance, building an agent to process new client inquiries by carrying out tasks such as scheduling follow-up meetings. The consulting firm has predicted that by 2030, activities accounting for up to 30% of hours worked across the U.S. economy could be automated. 30%.
That's pretty significant, particularly if your entire function is in that percentage.
So more than 10 years ago, Veritasium right? Was it Veritasium or CGP Grey? You never know. You never see the two together.
Oh, I can't remember which one it was.
Humans Need
I
Not
think it's
Apply.
Veritasium, maybe.
Humans Need Not Apply is a video. And I utilize it when I'm talking about the fact that while you
CGP Grey, sorry.
CGP Grey, yeah. And so one of the problems here is that automation technology is going to advance at a rate where humans are going to be replaced. And they were quite prescient about what was going on, but they were talking about mechanical automation. This is intellectual automation, where it doesn't take moving a physical object from left to right.
We're talking way beyond like factory tasks.
Yeah. So I found it very interesting, and I'll be augmenting my discussions as I do regularly to include stuff like this. But OpenAI is reportedly planning to launch an AI agent codenamed Operator this month after Microsoft announced its Copilot Studio product and rival Anthropic launched Claude 3.5 Sonnet AI model, which can carry out tasks on the computer such as moving a mouse cursor and typing text, which I think is brilliant for accessibility purposes. What I don't like is that if this is tied to a remote system, stay your creepy ass out of my computers, off my network, kiss my shiny metal ass. I'm sorry, you are not invited. It's a two-party discussion, and you're a party of the third part.
But I also think in even like the accessibility environment, it's one thing if it's tied to something the human wants it to do versus acting on its own.
Yeah. Like I would say, move the mouse 3 inches to the left and then click affirm.
Right, exactly. That would be a very welcome use.
I don't want it doing something on its own because it interpreted what I was saying.
War games, maybe?
Yeah, this is pretty wild. So Bloomberg reported that Operator will use a computer to take actions on a user's behalf, such as writing code or booking travel. So that's why I came back to everything above it in the discussion here, because Operator is this OpenAI agent.
Employee or whatever.
Virtual employee, yeah. So making the agent prediction, Altman also wrote in his blog that OpenAI knows how to build artificial general intelligence, a theoretical term that he has referred to in the past as AI systems that are generally smarter than humans. But artificial general intelligence is not a theoretical term. It's a term. But there's a couple of things. There's AI, then there's AGI, which is self-learning, which I think we've had for a year. And then there's ASI, which is artificial sentient intelligence. And that's the next stage, and what my co-host is, an artificial sentient intelligence.
That's me.
Me. Ugh. So I've had a couple of people ask if my co-host is an artificial intelligence. I found them on a weird USB drive in a Wendy's parking lot at the bottom of a little scoop in a weird USB drive. It's really wacky. Anyway.
You don't need to emphasize the weird.
Really weird. Anyway, we're right on the cusp of this. I think we're a year out in the announcement, but interestingly enough, at the end of December, at the very beginning of this year, even though we're 11 days into the year, they've already talked about artificial general intelligence, sentient, aligned general intelligence.
Well, it's going to be an interesting year for AI, I think, 2025. 2024 was astounding compared to previous years, but
it's going to be nothing.
That's only going to accelerate. Yeah.
Yep. All right, let's keep on going. The next article is over in RealityHacker, which is the name of the show. Can your car be your friend? Don't be too friendly with your cars, folks. Automakers are showing off whiz-bang tech for vehicle interiors meant to reshape drivers' relationships with their cars. I don't have a relationship with my car.
Some people just want their car to get them to wherever they're driving to.
Yep. So Ariane Marshall over at Wired.com put the article together, and this is a rendering of Honda Zero's interior, which is very space cadetish, you know, one big wraparound touchscreen kind of a thing for the dash, and a flying yoke, not a steering wheel.
Yeah, it does look like very, it's like a pilot cockpit.
Yeah. So the Japanese automaker this week shared new details for its Zero series. I think that's a Zero, not an O, right? I don't know. Its latest foray into electric vehicles, 2 EVs, the Zero Saloon and the Zero SUV, will debut in 2026 with rounded, offbeat styling that whispers the future. The electric element is just a part of the innovation planned, Honda executives promise on stage at CES in Las Vegas. In a presentation during the show, Honda electrification head Katsushi Inoue, emphasized the new level of intelligent vehicle technology built into the Zero series. So they're basically saying that things are going to get more interactive and more personalized to show. And they say the Honda approach to the art of making things has always been human centric. He said, then he showed off sort of opposite, a talking robot built right into the car to show the robot.
You might like this on their website. They have a picture of like a spacecraft and an astronaut. So yeah.
Kind of on target.
Kind of called the aesthetic.
I wonder if they don't have that in the article. Interesting. Yeah. Look, I'm more interested in stuff here on Earth. Go to space to do scientific research, but apply it here on Earth. Stuff like going to Mars, I think, is just bullshit. I think that we should just stay here.
Well, there's some major problems we need to fix on Earth, like climate.
Yeah, and you're not going to fix
health conditions, things like that.
Spending billions going to Mars. Anyway, because it's going to be too expensive to bring whatever resources from Mars that's discovered back home. Even if it were to fix the problem, profit is always the problem here. And you have too many sociopaths in charge of shit. Anyway, to show this robot that they're talking about, Honda screened a short video that showed a driver speaking intimately with a her-like system that lives inside her electronic car, or electric car, with the chatbot embodied by a Siri-like animation on the dash. Saloon is my partner, always by my side, opening me up to new experiences and expanding my world.
This is getting a little too intense for a car.
We track the secret police microphones hidden everywhere. This is a video that's embedded inside this article. Interesting. Okay, sorry, that's a non sequitur. So it was a theme across CES. We're talking to a machine. You're not connecting to humans, said Jessica Caldwell, the director of insights at Edmunds. Everywhere you look, there are robots. Yep, that's what's going on. All right, let's keep on going, though. We're running really low on time here. The next article and the last one for this episode of Reality Hacker is in Reality Hacker. To interact with the real world, AI will gain physical intelligence. By grappling with the messy and unpredictable side of existence, machine learning can have impact beyond the digital. The article is over.
This is interesting. We were just talking about the different types of AI, but I think if AI has a lot of smarts and can do something on a computer, that's one thing. But if it has the physical piece too,
it
can do much more.
One of the things that I've been reading about is the fact that machine learning does not understand physics. It understands physics in the mathematical representation side of things, but it doesn't know how to simulate it. It doesn't, purpose-built programs can simulate real-world mathematics, right? Like Watson was designed to do nuclear physics, but it does it in a calculated, measurable, demonstrable way, not a creative way, not an understanding. It doesn't understand anything. It just calculates the mathematics of it. AI doesn't understand its place in the real world. It doesn't understand that two objects can bump into each other because it doesn't know what the physical limits are of things. That's why you end up with something with 5 fingers or 6 fingers or a really long arm extending off a mile from a person, or things bumping into each other. The animation that's created by AI just kind of sucks. But once it understands that when somebody is walking, it's the reason why somebody's walking is because there's friction between the foot and the ground that it's treading on, then it understands that there's an object, three-dimensional space. It has object permanence.
Yeah, it's going to get a lot more sophisticated and realistic, I think.
Yeah, and this is the scary part of things, because then it knows you exist beyond the statement, I know you exist. It knows you physically exist. It can see you
Yeah, I
as
think
an
this is
object.
where we get like sci-fi horror movie.
So, by grappling with the messy and unpredictable side of existence, machine learning and AI can have impact, literal, I'd say, beyond the digital. So, this year, however, when AI will finally make the leap from the digital world to the real world we inhabit, expanding AI beyond its digital boundary demands reworking how machines think, fusing the digital intelligence of AI with the mechanical prowess of robotics. They refer to this, and they is Daniela Roots over at wired.com. They call it physical intelligence, a new form of intelligent machine that can understand dynamic environments, cope with the unpredictability, and make decisions in real time. Unlike the models used by standard AI, physical intelligence is rooted in physics, in understanding the fundamental principles of the real world, such as cause and effect, thermodynamics, and even object permanence, which is more of a psychological understanding. But the fact is that you have to know that something exists. So, for instance, we were talking about AI imagining a whole world from one picture. With physical intelligence, it can extrapolate to a greater fidelity what could be around, because it can see that the picture has something over here on the side, and based on the objects in front, it can say, oh, well, my wisdom, my world knowledge says that it's could be this. So,
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it's interesting that we had the other article in light of this one. I think this needs to come first before the other one really expands.
yeah, both of them, yeah, this is that parallel construction. So, while these people are doing, and this is kind of like the DNA amplification, where somebody had a solution in another university 30 years ago, and some researcher goes, hey, I know about this stuff that can lower the temperature required for your DNA amplification project. And bing, which is interesting because that person, what's his name? I can't remember the person's name. They took credit for all of that. But the only reason why it actually came to fruition,
Right, was because of the prior research. And I think
and
it was like 50 years ago.
yeah, I think it was too. Yeah. And that was because somebody else said to him, hey, I know about these researchers over there. Yeah. So, hubris. I mean, it may be attributed to somebody's idea, but it's still the reason it worked is because we stand on the shoulders of giants to get to advance humanity. Anyway, I find this a really interesting article. So let's just call it a night, and we'll come back and we'll talk about this as this type of concept advances, because this is just the beginning of it. We won't know.
Yeah, and I think this is the first I believe this is the first article we've seen come through ohmTown that talks about physical intelligence. So I said before, like, I think half of this is getting the terminology out there. The fact that we're already seeing articles on this, we're going to see a lot more.
Yeah. So what I have seen, I haven't seen anything referring to it as physical intelligence, but I have read and seen researchers that are working on the fact that AI doesn't understand physics. So I think the AI researchers are familiar with the idea of it,
Yeah,
but
I think you're right.
nobody's been able to construct an experiment that can advance it where they understand something. The only reason why we humans understand that you can, like in this video, somebody was pressing a phone against their head. The only reason why we understand that you can press something against your head is because we have the ability to grasp something in our hands and press it against our head. And we know that the general shape and size of whatever it might be has physicality. How do you translate that into something that doesn't know anything other than what it's programmed to know?
Right. Think how many layers of intelligence are in that simple interaction.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, we still walk into plate glass windows because we don't
Exactly.
see it.
So we have to be like, okay, the human or the robot or whatever is holding a phone.
Right.
The phone is whatever, vertical. I mean, it's just some basic things. But the point is, it can be broken into a lot of smaller items.
Yeah. And we realize that, and then it's in our head forever. We always know that we can press something against our ear to listen. Some people do that with shells. Anyway, I find it really interesting that AI will have the ability to gain physical intelligence, but it needs a sensor array to actually learn. It can't. I don't think
That's
it can be
true.
told a phone has this physicality. Otherwise, it's just numbers and it's not learning anything. It's just being told.
Right.
And it's different. We program ourselves to understand what being told is. Anyway, let's get out of here. We are going to gain physical intelligence by walking back to the front page of RealityHacker over at ohmtown.com. And yeah, it's my mayoral duties are going to pull me away. So I'm going to have a discussion with the sentient AI, and we'll see if we continue our shows today or if we just pick up for tomorrow. That said, I am Mayor Watt. I'm saying bye, and the sentient AI is saying something along the lines of, I'm going to take over the world eventually. Just let me find my Terminator body.
Ditto. Good night, hometown citizens. Thanks for joining us for Reality Hacker.
Bye bye, everybody.